On this week's GTA 6 o'clock, Strauss Zelnick talks GTA 6.
I think it'll be breathtaking.
Take-Two's 2025 calendar gets busy. Civilization, Mafia, GTA, Borderlands. And a new leak or not a new leak? That is the question. This is the future. This is a new leak. All here on this week's GTA 6 o'clock. Good day, Los Santos, and welcome to GTA 6 o'clock, coming to you live from the heart of the city. I'm your host, JJ, and the sun is still shining here at GTA 6 HQ. However, we are expecting some snow this week, so get those supplies in and prepare to hunker down for the winter. All of this means that with my co-host Dan DD Dawkins living outside of the city, it's going to be hard to get into the studio for the next few weeks. And that is my audition to be on the GTA 6 radio talk show. Thank you very much. But more to the point, Dan, how are we going to handle this absence over the next few weeks?
We are, snow or otherwise, taking a short festive break. So we will be away. We will miss the 25th, Christmas Day. Please forgive us.
Yeah.
It's a day of family and belonging for many. And we'll miss the first. The dates have fallen really on the biggest days of all for us, really, right? We'll miss the first New Year's Day, and we expect to be back Jan the 8th. So we're going to take a little pause. No doubt this is the time when Rockstar released trailers 2 and 3. Please don't, though. Let's all have a nice holiday. So, yeah, we'll take a little break, recharge the batteries, come back to you sort of the first week of the new year, the start of the second week of the new year.
Yeah, as you listen to this, if you are listening to it on release day, it is Wednesday, the 18th of December. And as Dan said, the next 2 Wednesdays are those big dates. So we will be back for the, well, it's technically the second Wednesday in January. But please, everyone have a big Christmas break. But before then, we've got a few things to talk about this week, Dan. The first topic of the day, because I think it's going to be a quick and easy one to cover, is that over the past week, a new leak has hit the internet. It shows a nondescript alleyway and a security camera and not much else. The internet and a couple of websites covered this quite extensively, almost to the point where they were losing their minds that this is the future. This is a new leak. There were lots of small details in here, like there's an NVIDIA driver and the game version indicated that this wasn't from the 2022 leaks. It was probably early to mid 2023. As I say, loads of people went down the rabbit hole on this one and covered it. We did not. And it took the user who created it, who was called Long Time, about 2 hours to take credit for it and showing the model they created before going, they released it going, here's the new leak. 2 hours later, they went, actually, I've just made this. They could have continued with that for quite some time, I imagine, at least a few more days before the community really managed to unpick it and work out that it probably wasn't real. But this guy did it for them anyway. So, yes, needless to say, it is fake. There's a word in which I say stop falling for these things. But as we've said before, I think with all leaks like this, even the AI screenshots that we've seen, beyond how good it looks, and this one did look very good and very convincing. If you've seen the 2022 leaks, everything about this on its surface looks legit. But you sort of have to question, why would this come out now? And how would it have come out? So regardless of how great it looks, I think the only way that we're getting more leaks on this sort of level now is directly from someone who works at Rockstar, or maybe like we saw in and around the 2022 leaks. I think it was slightly after that when we got someone was in, I'm going to put this in air quotes, their friend's dad's office and recorded the screen of something happening. I don't see another security breach happening on the scale that we've had before. I think all of that stuff is going to be super locked down more. So yeah, I just think take a breath if you see anything like this. It did, when I first saw it, it did convince me I was like, oh, yeah, this looks reasonably legit. But then, yeah, like I say, you fall back on, well, there's not just going to be this one clip, right? So where's the rest of it? If there is a big scale thing, and then why would it come out now? And I think, I get it. Everyone wants to see more content from GTA 6. And the less official information we have, and the longer that gap, and we'll talk about this gap later on in the show, but the longer that gap persists for, the more time you're giving people to create more and more realistic looking leaks. And we might end up seeing more of this if trailer 2 ends up being a few more months away.
This is how people become cannibals in a rather metaphorical sense. Desperation has driven us mad.
I want to believe.
Yeah. What I find the weirdest thing is, it was only a few weeks ago we were talking about another YouTuber who made a YouTube video about how I brackets briefly fooled the world with my thing. This is another example of that, how I briefly fooled the world genre. Gaming Bibles, the start of their article is amusing, where it says, one man managed to fool the entire GTX 6 community for a brief moment on Saturday. And so you're like, great. So you had your 2 hours of win. And in fact, the guy who created the leak came out and confirmed it was fake.
Yeah.
Pretty much immediately. And I guess saying, look at me, didn't I do a good job faking you for 2 hours? I don't know, to what end?
Well,
like,
I will say,
is it
in
a job
response
audition?
to Gaming Bible, not the entire GTA 6 community. We were definitely not there saying we were fooled. So
Caveat your work, Gaming
please
Bible.
correct that article.
Yeah, I get it. It's impressively done. The other flip of this is, if this were true, what would I be learning new about GTA 6? And the answer would have been basically nothing.
Yes.
It's a car in a street from a thing that maybe could be true. So there was no revelation in it. I'm not even upset. I can't get angry about this guy spending a month of his time to hoax us for 2 hours. If you want to do that, there's worse things you can do in this world. It's just pointless.
Yeah.
I mean, is it pointless? We spent 10 minutes talking about it.
Well,
Thanks.
true. Yeah. It's some content to talk about. And like I said, it did look as real as it could have done, given the timeframes and all of that stuff. But yeah, if you're getting excited about leaks, my suggestion would be don't. And wait for the next episode of GTA 6 O'Clock. And we will tell you our thoughts on it. And probably by then it's either confirmed or not. But yeah, I think, as to your point, I think if there's going to be another leak, why would you just leak a very nondescript side street, knowing that everybody wants to see the big city or like a new car or something, right?
And I guess it's because in your mind you would go, because it reveals nothing, it's harder to disprove and feels truthier.
Yes.
So it makes the case for this being right more compelling, but the case for it adding any actual information nil. It's the paradox, I guess. By trying to be more accurate, they've made it far less interesting.
Which just you have to do, because otherwise people will pick it apart too quickly and be like, actually, that's
too
not
obviously fake.
Yeah.
Like all the AI screenshots of, people, whatever it is. You just name your screenshot. They're all preposterous, right? So.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's leave that there. And maybe in the next 2 weeks, there'll be some more things that will come out. Probably not over Christmas. People are busy.
2 weeks holidays, a lot of time for people to make a lot of fakes. So that's a slight worry.
All right. Well, let's move on to something that is definitely real. And this is a new Strauss Zelnick interview where he talks about GTA 6. This has come to light fairly recently in the last few days as we are recording this. Tyler also sent this in via email in case we had missed it. So thank you, Tyler, for putting this in our inbox. This is a video from a YouTube account or a YouTuber called Connor Mather. His channel is mostly him doing the NPC in public spaces videos where he walks around and pretends to be an NPC and tries to interact with people in the real world. So this is, we should say, a legitimate interview. This actually happened. How it came to be, maybe we'll talk about as we go through this. Like Rockstar, we're right here. If Strauss Zelnick wants to do an interview, we'll have one. That's fine. The video title is Take-Two CEO Strauss Zelnick on gaming, GTA, and life-changing advice for young people. So there's quite a lot in here that isn't GTA related. There's a lot about his career and how people can take on some of his learnings in life and do all of that kind of stuff. But obviously, we're going to talk about the GTA stuff. So there's a couple of questions in here and answers that I think are worth covering. Maybe we'll go through these one at a time, Dan. I'll take these in the order I think that they come in the video. We'll put a full link in the description below so you guys can go and listen to it. The first is in reference to Connor's NPC in public videos, and he's like, people know me for being an in-game GTA NPC and walking around the real world. Do you think that there could be a tribute to me in GTA 6? I'm paraphrasing here. He didn't actually explicitly say it like that, but he basically went, would there be someone who looks a bit like me? And the response from Strauss Zelnick was almost certainly not, which is to be expected, I think. He did then go on to say, okay, well, if you could sum up GTA 6 in a few words, what would you say? And Strauss Zelnick's reply was, I think it will be extraordinary, and it will be worth waiting for, which is something that we have heard before. And obviously, the CEO of the company who owns
I don't know why he's
Rockstar
talking it up.
is going to say it's going to be extraordinary. But it's, hey, let's take what we can get. It's nice to hear them say this out loud.
Yeah, it's confidence. And there's, to put the analytical hat back on, we've had the words mind-blowing use, extraordinary, worth waiting for. They're not damping down the hype. I guess why would they? They want to sell a lot of units of GTA 6 and therefore GTA Online. But were the game to be only quite good, this would down the line come to hurt them. So it shows a confidence in the product, in what they're talking about. It also suggests that, I guess by implication, would he have wavered? Would he have done this interview if he secretly knew GTA 6 might slip by a certain amount of time? I don't know. Maybe not. That's a bit of a stretch, but I think it is, again, a positive sign that he's willing to be interviewed. And I want to talk a lot about the entire nature of this interview because it blows me away. I'll get to that at the end. But the fact he's talking is positive.
Yeah, and there is, some stuff in here that we can take away and everyone's favorite word, extrapolate on. But we'll get to that in a second. So the next bit I think we'd be interested in is Connor asked, this is, did you expect the success of GTA Online to be so large? And we've heard this answer in different forms before.
Yeah.
But Strauss says, no, I don't think any of us did. I think we saw it as a really interesting add-on to the title. We had originally planned not to have virtual currency in the game. It was a relatively late in the day when we decided to pursue virtual currency. Now, I would say that is quite the thing. I'm not sure I knew about that, but like the whole concept of shark cards and GTA dollars being not something that was in there till pretty late in the game is sort of mind-blowing. Like, imagine being that person or that team who went, I don't think we should put virtual currency in the game. I don't think it's going to be any benefit to us. And then looking at it 10 years later going, oh yeah, okay. People were really into it and it's made us loads of money.
This is fascinating, I think, in revealing, and I speak sort of from experience here, in revealing the tensions often between creators and what's traditionally seen as execs or the money people. You've also got to zoom back in time. This is like 2011, 2012. They'd been having these conversations. Yeah. We were in a world where the internet had melted due to the frivolity of Horse Armor DLC in Skyrim. At that time in history, the negativity towards the concept of paying for anything apart from the box product was off the charts. Now, I dare say that level of social sentiment was embedded within the creative team, who would have said, it would be outrageous to ask our loyal fans to pay more money. Aren't we going to make enough money from selling the box game? Is enough not enough? Plus, we're not even sure it's going to work and we're still working. Like all these things, you could see how you could talk yourself into a world where No, we're not going to charge for it. Yeah, I agree. It's the right thing to do. We're doing the right thing. And then obviously someone somewhere would have gone, but what if? What if we introduce this concept of monetization? What if it sticks? However that conversation got resolved is probably the executor who pushed that through is single-handedly or as group responsibility for changing the direction of all of Take-Two. Because the money generated by GTA Online over a decade, we're talking billions.
Yeah.
It's an outrageous decision. And I guess one that might have at the time trampled on the toes of, I guess, what the sentiment... I don't know this, right? It's me speculating. Might have trampled on the toes of the sentiment within the dev team. Or whether it was just genuinely, we just didn't think of it. We're struggling to get it up and running. Oh, great. Yeah, good idea. Maybe we should monetize it. I don't know. But yeah, you're right. The fact that it wasn't always going to be that way is quite a revelation. But I wonder how much of that is, I don't know, deliberate ethical holding back versus, will this thing even work? We don't know. The fact the game came out like 2 months after the box game is instructive. And they had to pivot and change it. And, you know, again, another alternate history is you look at one of the other big online games, Fortnite, which is now a money engine. My own children take money from me to buy ridiculous skins and dances in it and what have you. That wasn't a success. And they pivoted the entire game to the Battle Royale mode in about 6 weeks. And then it's become this, you know, it's a Leviathan.
Yeah.
And now it's reverse engineered and is eating everything.
Yeah, there was a lot of stuff in here that we haven't gone over where they well, not a lot. Some stuff where they talk about GTA Online obviously not launching as a success. Like you know, they're very open with saying, you know, when it came out, I think Strauss even says it in this interview, it was buggy.
Yeah.
It took quite a long time to get up to speed. It wasn't an instant success. You know, we had to really work at it. And there was probably some of that in there of going, we're not sure this even works. Like, let's not do virtual currency until
how can
the
we
game
charge
works,
for this?
right?
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a load of stuff in there, but I think that's interesting.
And you're right. And just to pull this further, the plan to monetize, as we know now, was to release more DLC.
Yeah,
It was to release single-player DLC.
Yeah.
So they were like, we can't charge for this because the plan is, of course, is Secret Agent Trevor. We got that in 4 years' time, or whatever the conversation was. But there was a different view of the world at that point in time. Well, you know, as we all know now, with the glorious benefit of hindsight, is that GTA Online became the money tap. And it flushed away all of the DLC, which got sort of reborn in different forms. But yeah, there's an MCU alternate universe version of this.
Oh, a what if?
A what if
do
episode.
a Rockstar version of what if, where different decisions were made.
Yeah. So come on, if you can make a Netflix episode about the cancelled Concord project.
Yeah. Well, Amazon Prime. Let's not confuse those two. Behemoths.
Sorry. As I say that, maybe that's my alternate universe take on it, right? To get me out of a hole there.
Sure, yeah.
If they can do that, they can make an alternate universe GTA Online thing. Give us Secret Agent Trevor the watchable episode.
Okay. Let's talk about how they handle feedback from players, which was also one of Connor's questions. I mean, it was very much, how do you handle feedback from players? This answer, I will caveat by saying, isn't specifically about GTA 6. I think it's more in general. But if you wanted to, and if you were doing a podcast about GTA 6, you could say that, you know, there's answers in here that infer maybe it does relate to GTA 6 in some way. So the answer was about feedback from players was,
everything that we do has to be new and different, not derivative.
Yeah.
And so by definition, when people are commenting on something that is in market, that means they're looking at something that was done before.
Yep.
Our teams are focused on what's new that you haven't even thought about. Like, you thought you were anticipating this thing, but this is way bigger and way better and more exciting and more beautiful than you could have possibly thought of.
which is quite the statement if you're going, maybe this is about GTA 6. I think it's more general, and it's more about, you know, we've got some DLC coming or a new update for GTA Online, or we've got this new game coming out and you're excited about it. But actually, what people are working on is much further beyond what you've even seen in our trailers or our game to this point. But I'm going to hope that this is about GTA 6 explicitly, and there's more statements here that it's bigger, better, more exciting, and more beautiful.
I want to believe. And maybe the positive is the absence of trailer 2, the fact there's only been one visual statement of what GTA is. It just gives them that latitude for when it drops. We're ready, and they would have had a further year of development to further show us what it's becoming. That's
take
exciting.
the positives, Dan.
Yeah, no, I guess I can, because they're really talking it up. There's a big belief here, a big belief.
And
Maybe
there's
it'll be
also
good.
there's also some interesting bits around how those teams work together.
Yeah.
Well, Strauss said, you can't just be data driven when you're creating these things. You have to be creatively driven, which is a nice thing to hear. And obviously that's going to come from as we said, from the CEO of the giant company. But obviously we talk about it a lot that the company is very data driven and needs to make money, and it's all about pleasing shareholders and everything. But to see them say it's also creatively driven, as in we need to give our team space to do what they want, is a nice thing to hear.
It is a nice thing to hear. And to be fair, if you go through his earnings calls, Strauss Zelnick will often defend the creative. And so I think it's a consistent sentiment. How true it is, I don't know. Like, when they assess the viability of the shark card, is it data driven or creatively driven? Well, yeah, maybe a bit of both, but largely it will be, well, on one hand, it makes all these billions of dollars, so it stays. That's it. I mean, so those data always is going to be a big driver. But I think Strauss Zelnick, what he gets, and this is the reason we all love GTA and Rockstar, is because there's this sense of it's ready when it's ready, and it's an event. And you compare it to, do I name names? There are franchises that were popular and became annualized, and I would dare say lost their luster. And those companies have floundered because I think they strangled the golden goose, or whatever the right analogy would be to say it.
They took all the meat off the horse.
Yeah, exactly, until the horse it's just a skeleton. and nobody ultimately likes that. If it becomes purely data driven, or it's succeeding, it will keep succeeding, it's not going to work. So I think Strauss understands that. It's easier to understand that when the thing you release every 10 years is the orange that never stops juicing.
Yeah.
Because, GTA, for GTA to have survived 10 to 12 years to this point, constantly bleeding money from GTA Online is unbelievable. And it's given them the luxury of thought of creating Red Dead 2, of all the things that have happened in between, because the money has just kept flowing. And it's very easy to sit on your laurels and pontificate when you're rich.
Yeah. But as you say, some of that is a testament to the fact that we do only get a GTA every X number of years, and it hasn't become an annualized fact. Like, no one's sitting here going, I want a new GTA every year. Well, some people who listen to the show
trailer maybe,
might be.
But not a new game.
Some new content would be lovely at least once a year.
Yes.
But no, the fact that GTA only comes out on quite a lengthy cycle makes it have that moment, makes everyone look forward to it. It's like the thing that everyone expects. Once this one comes out, it'll be, okay, when are we getting GTA 7? And it'll be, well, probably after Red Dead 3 or whatever Rockstar decide to do next. But it creates those moments because the period of time between one game and the next is so far away. Like, it's not, like your Call of Duty that is coming every year. And it's, maybe more difficult to get excited about something that is consistently coming out every year than something that comes out every 5 or 6 years.
It's what makes it special. And when it's delivered, they've all been almost to a point game-changing.
Yeah, that helps.
Yeah.
That certainly helps.
I remember, I'm pretty sure when I reviewed GTA San Andreas, however many years it was ago, I literally gave it 99%, which is a ludicrous score. But I will add,
a classic score.
I will add, whilst that score is correct, I was backed into a corner because another colleague had given GTA Vice City 97.
Okay.
Now, would I argue that the degree of improvement between San Andreas and Vice City was 2%? Yes.
Would you argue it was more than 2% though?
Yeah, but I didn't really. Again, my
3% maybe.
and I might have given it 100 were there room in the text box, but I don't think we even could do that back in the magazine days. So
we can't do an 100.
yeah, 100 felt impossible. So they're game changing. 5, maybe you could argue 4 was a little bit more. It was game changing in a different way, like in terms of it was a visual leap, but it was a slightly more modest ambition, grittier. I mean, maybe it's some people's favourite 4, but it wasn't the bigger, bolder, better version of GTA. But 5 was a real turn up the stereo. Yeah. This is huge, and 6 feels like that again. 6 feels like another. Strap yourself in, get ready.
Just to go full circle on that point, Grand Theft Auto San Andreas reviews came out October 25th, 2004. So a good 20 years ago.
Oh, good. And I'd already been in the industry a few years by that point. So
welcome to the party.
So as I say, I've been in the industry so long, by the time GTA 7 comes out, I expect not to be in the industry. Or indeed working at all if things go well. But let's see. And there might not be. So let's never say these things out loud.
Well, and that's also, anticipating that the gap is going to be similar to from 6 to 7.
10 or 12 years. I will no longer be 23. So things is quite a long way away.
All right. There's one more thing in this interview I wanted to highlight, which was a question right at the end of the GTA section that Connor said, is there something that excites you most about GTA 6? And Strauss simply replied with,
just what I said earlier. I think it'll be breathtaking.
Yeah, which is actually not what he said earlier. He added an extra line in there saying it's going to be breathtaking. But again, like you say at the top, we've heard the game now being described as breathtaking, mind-blowing, incredible, like all of the things that you'd like it to be described as. Like if someone like you or I had seen the game and we came back and did a podcast going, you know what, guys, it is breathtaking. It is mine. Those are all the superlatives that we would use when describing it. Going, it's mind blowing, guys. I can't tell you anything more than that.
That's before we leave this point, is the question James and I were discussing off air, and I throw this to the comments because I'm genuinely interested. How on earth has Strauss Zelnick, the CEO of one of the biggest listed companies in all of America, ended up talking to Connor Mather, the social media star who's most famous for being the NPC guy? This blows my noodle, because Strauss Zelnick, if he's going to speak to anyone, you think it would be like a Bloomberg or an NBC, right? Or an industry analyst. I don't even see him especially talking to video game press or even the business press. I would find that probably a thing he wouldn't want to do. So how in the sweet name of all the fancy stars has this happened? And my theorizing for it would be based on 3 strands, right?
Okay.
One is Connor Mather's father, mother, uncle is a dear friend of Strauss and went, the boy needs a favor. Go and talk to him. I insist. And it's some kind of, and look, and again, this was me pure conjecture. This might be nonsense, right? But familial links can go a long way to strange things happening in the world. It's so weird. Part of me thinks, is it something to do with that? If anyone out there knows more about that, please let us know in the comments. I've got to stress, that's just me throwing one out there. The second one would be, well, I guess, imagine this. Connor Mather just literally contacted Strauss Zelnick directly somehow and said, would you do an interview with me? Based on the theory of, if you don't ask, you don't get. Now, that sounds completely implausible. And you'd think, why on earth would Strauss Zelnick, on any of his available open social channels or whatever it is, speak to Connor Mather? Did Connor Mather pop outside the Take-Two office and go, Strauss, I'd like to speak to you. I've got a pitch for you. It's like something out of a movie.
Yeah.
It's so weird. And the reason I add some tiny bit of credibility to this is there's a friend of mine who is a journalist. He writes for one of the world's biggest publications, but he's a freelancer, and he got an interview with, have you read about that man who wants to live forever and is taking his son's blood and spending, he's like a millionaire who's spending most of his fortune trying to look young.
Wow, no.
And so a mutual friend of ours actually interviewed him and basically did it by politely contacting him directly. And he did say, yes, I've got all these legitimate connections, but I'm going to lay out to you exactly why I think I'd be a good interview for you and all the reading I've done. And he gave this really clear case for why I'm not going to be some Yahoo who's going to ask you loads of dumb questions. Now, there is a world where Conor Mather might have said, and I wonder if this is part to do with the title of the video. He said, it's not really about Rockstar or the thing. I want you to talk to me as someone who's successful about advice for young entrepreneurs.
Yes.
And I wonder if he pricked a bit of conscience in, Strauss, who went, well, I would, young man I've never heard of, because I'd like to give back.
Yeah. That strand, I can understand that might have happened. But I think, as we were saying before we hit the record button, I don't believe any of those conversations would have got far enough up the chain for Strauss to have then, like, I don't think if you directly email whatever Strauss's email address is, that he's got the time to look at all of those emails. Like, somebody else might be
I know you
going through it and then going, well, we don't need to bother him with
You're
this
going to be
one.
telling me soon that footballers don't run their own social media accounts. So,
hey,
yeah,
I've got some news for you.
Yeah, and of course, and you would think that these sort of famous or successful people would have people who manage all of their public engagement platforms.
And this interview feels managed. Like you can see people looking off camera every now and then to go, I'm going to ask this question now, and I'm sure there might have been some questions in this that have been cut.
So option 3 is somebody within Rockstar, presumably within their PR/marketing department, put this idea forward, which might be the result of a brainstorm or a, who knows, that trailer too. Don't ask us for that anytime soon. Hey, Strauss, would you be available to speak to the NPC guy? What? Like that's so weird. I almost can't get my head around that. But maybe it's come from an ideation at Rockstar and they've gone, what we'd like to do is somehow take this guy who's ultra corporate and of a certain age and map him with someone who's like a Gen Z breakout star who's got 1.8 million TikTok followers. It's still so weird though.
Yeah.
Like, and whether it's some line through all three of those things where there's a familial/friend connection. He knows that he knew enough, or he was somehow had someone who'd given him Strauss's somewhere Strauss Zelnick's had to say yes to this. And that blows my mind. And it's not actually, this isn't bad PR. There's nothing in this that is actually bad for Strauss Zelnick or for Rockstar. Of course not. It's quite managed in its way. It's just a very, very unusual thing. And it's not even like Conor Mather is famous for interviewing people in this fashion.
No, this isn't part of a series or anything.
Well, he's done one other episode a bit like this, where he interviews the brother of Floyd Mayweather, the former boxing champion. It's not even close.
No,
it's not in the same field. There's people who, like the high performance podcasts, Tim Ferriss. There's people who make a career of interviewing high flying professionals to ask for advice.
Yeah, that one from Dragon's Den.
Yeah, this is not this.
Interview of a CEO.
This is the NPC guy. This is wild. It's like me tomorrow hosting MasterChef. I'm available, and it's particularly if Greg Wallace moves aside.
Well, he is definitely moving.
But I'm just saying it's unlikely. And unless I did have, and I'm sorry, I'm off on a tangent, but it genuinely blows my mind. If anyone thinks they can answer this, or if anyone at Rockstar would like to drop me a DM and go, well, there's a story to be told over a drink.
Yeah.
I'm all ears.
Or drop me a DM and say, would you like to interview Strauss Zelnick?
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Also good. So
we promise not to ask him exclusively about GTA 6.
No, and just constantly badger him to the point where he can't say a single word.
We'll ask him about some other things.
It's just fascinating. So yeah.
It's a very interesting thing that seems to have happened out of almost nowhere. Like even the other, like this is, on his YouTube channel, even the other YouTube videos he's made have done no, comparatively low views, 2 to 10,000 views. And then this one, there's one that's popular that's done like a couple of million, but that's from 2 years ago. It's not even like this is on the up and up and it's like, let's get on this.
There's the Floyd Mayweather chat. There's his attempt to launch a pop career with a singular pop video. As I say, this looks almost like and I apologize, this might be so off base. It's like something in an alternate universe Richie Rich has done, where he's been, how can I become famous? The son of the Beckhams or something. It's properly wild. Someone can explain this story to me. Either way, chapeau to you.
Yeah, well done, Connor. It's a good chat, and as I say, like there is lots of other stuff in here that isn't GTA related. So we put the link in the description. It's an interesting conversation, so check it out for yourself. There might be some other details in there that we've missed. Connor, if people do get in touch with you and you're listening and you'd like to come on the show and talk about how you managed to interview Strauss, please get in touch with us. We're on Twitter at GTA Video Clock or email gtavioclock@gmail.com, or just leave a comment below and we will chat. So more on that. As we said, you guys, we've got about 2 weeks to do some investigating and we'll see what we can dig up in the new year. So moving on then to, a good segue into Take-Two's 2025 calendar, which is now getting pretty busy. So related to this, the Game Awards happened. There was no GTA 6 news, as some people might have anticipated. We'll get onto that in a second. They weren't even on stage. Like, they weren't there. They might have been there in person, but if they were, they didn't go up on stage. Unlike they were at the Golden Joystick Awards, where they came up and said some stuff. It was an off-stage award, so one of those ones that are handed out in a matter of seconds.
Yeah.
And they're like, here's the most anticipated game. Bang, bang, bang. GTA. Move on. Which I, think is a bit of a weird choice when you might have the potential to get someone, maybe even, Strauss is doing interviews, maybe someone like that on stage and say thank you very much. But
yeah, I imagine Jeff's pretty hurt, if he's not getting an interview, but Conor Mather is.
Maybe they just didn't ask. As I say,
well,
a weird choice if they
don't
went,
ask,
no,
you don't get. Come on,
you're-
Jeff.
You're in the offstage section. Fine. I think last week, Dan, you waned on your prediction of going, well, we might get something at the Game Awards, about 30, 40%. Obviously, that's
Well,
that hasn't happened.
if we're going to be wrong in terms of quoting me, because I went back to listen to the episode.
Oh, did we? Okay.
Yeah.
I thought this might happen.
You see, this is it. This is
Yeah.
the problem. So I said quite explicitly 20% in relation to a Game Awards thing. So 80% of what I said was correct, right? Now, I did say, though, to be fair, I said there was a 40-50% of the other idea you put forward, which was some sort of festive message with an image. So I put myself out on a limb with the festive message.
I'm still on board with the festive
Yeah,
message,
and
I should
I
say.
agree. I think that's still, particularly in context of everything, likely. But I will, to put it on the record, I was quite... the fact I could entertain a possibility, I guess, is a revelation. Because I think if you'd asked me this question months ago, and you probably did,
Yeah.
and we did discuss it, we'd have said the Game Awards, no chance.
0%.
The fact I'd have slid from 0 to 20 felt, and I did feel a bit like that because nothing had happened, and I'd spoken to a few people in the industry who I trust, who started to voice the idea. I'd entertained the prospect.
Yeah.
So, for the record, 20% of me.
It turns out those people were probably talking about one of the other exciting things that was revealed at the show. One of which was, of course, Mafia, the Old Country, a new trailer for that, which is another Take-Two title. It actually leaked in the morning, this announcement, that it was, not the full trailer, but enough of it, a clip of it, and that it was coming out in summer. The trailer is called Mafia, the Old Country, the Initiation Trailer, and the description is, uncover the origins of organized crime in Mafia, the Old Country, a gritty mob story set in the brutal underworld of 1900 Sicily. Fight to survive as Enzo Ferrara in this immersive third-person action adventure. The trailer then announced the release window of summer 2025, and on first looking at it, and maybe second or third looking at it, I would say it looks a fair bit like Red Dead Redemption 2 at times, which, is not a bad thing. There's horses in it, there's open countryside and that kind of thing. So if we get a bit more of that, and I think, hopefully, if you really want to dive into this, you could suggest that obviously Mafia is going to take some learnings from Red Dead, and that kind of technology sharing within the company is maybe happening. So if we play Mafia the Old Country, you might get some suggestions and some ideas of what will eventually happen or look, like GTA 6 will look like that. Because I think visually it looks amazing.
Yeah.
And that's where we're heading for the GTA 6 tech. Obviously, they're using different engines and all of that kind of stuff, but I think it's interesting just to see that. The most interesting thing, I guess, is that now Take-Two's lineup for 2025, I think as we previously discussed, is stacked. They've got Civilization 7, which is coming February the 11th next year. So that's only a few months away. Then they have Mafia: The Old Country set for summer 2025. NBA 2K26 is slated for September 2025. Borderlands has a 2025 release date. And GTA 6 is coming out in fall 2025. All of those are big franchises for Take-Two. Civilization, Mafia, GTA, Borderlands. NBA is still a moneymaker for them. That is 5 titles, at least 6 titles, 5 titles. 5 titles. You know, the stats on that is basically a massive game every 2 months, almost, in 2025.
It's huge. You see that slate written down, and it's quite mind blowing. I guess the thing you would argue is that in terms of overlapping customer bases, a number of them don't really intermesh. Like Civ 7 is, I guess, it's the most popular example of its niche, but it's like a god game world builder. The intersection between, say, Civ players and, let's say, Borderlands 4 players or Mafia players. I don't know what that Venn diagram looks like, but I imagine there isn't a great intersection.
No.
So I guess that game can kind of sit alone. But I guess you're always competing for attention, even if not indirectly. So you don't want any games landing on top of each other.
No. And this does probably lead us into what does it mean for GTA? You know, is the potential of a delay coming? We've seen, you know, we previously talked about Strauss Zelnick has said that obviously they're not going to put their big franchises up against each other.
Yeah.
The Borderlands release window, I suspect, will slip. Obviously, Take-Two's 2025 dates run until March 2026. I think there's a potential for, I mean, they've officially said it's 2025.
But they said calendar 2025.
I think it's I think that is the wording. So it could, and that, if anything was going to slip back, maybe that does. But then if that does and GTA does, we're back in the situation of them both coming up in the same potential window. Or, all of these things slip back a bit and it's fine. Like Mafia slips, GTA slips, and we all go back. But, I mean, what I guess it boils down to, we haven't had trailer 2. We're not going to get trailer 2 this year. I'm going to put that out there.
Yeah.
100%. 99%. Leave 1%, as I've learned.
You were 95% earlier on, in your written notes for the show. So.
Yeah, well, we've talked about it now, and I'm like, it's not happening. Not going to get it.
Somewhere on a sliding scale from 5 to 1. It's really, I wouldn't put any amount of money on a 5% bet. So
no,
it feels slim. I'm with you. I think at this stage, I've gone down to the equivalent of the Queen's Christmas message is all we've got left from Rockstar now. So
it'll be the King's
Christmas, Rockstar's Christmas message. So I think that's all we've got left is some kind of postcard saying Happy Holidays.
Yes, and I think as they have done before, Christmas, December 24th, Christmas Eve, a screenshot update going Happy Holidays. We're still working on GTA 6. Here's 3 images. Yeah. I don't want to get excited. I don't want to get you guys overexcited, but I feel like that would be a nice thing to do in the absence of a trailer.
Oh, yeah. It would be. I mean, what would be a great troll is if they released like a Happy Holidays postcard and on the front of it is someone sat inside a car on a Miami street with some debugging information. That would be a hilarious insight. They're not going to do that.
Yeah, just a blurry image that you can't really see. And it's coming, guys. An off-screen image.
Yeah, even the authentic thing looks fake.
What I think this means though is, if let's pretend all of these dates stick, and that slate happens like that.
Yeah,
GTA does still come out in the fall of 2025. That makes this, I think, the shortest marketing campaign Rockstar would have ever done for a GTA title, maybe any game. And how do we think this would play out if we are targeting fall? We've said before, January's reasonably quiet in the, trying to do big things. February, maybe. But then, so February, March, are we thinking maybe you get Trailer 2, or maybe Trailer 2 with one of those hands-off previews, like somebody somewhere, us, hopefully, gets to look at a 10-minute section of the game.
Yeah.
That they then write up into a big article or video, which accompanies Trailer 2, which you see snippets of that mission in that, so you can piece everything together. Like, that has to be February or March in my timeline.
Yeah.
Then I think you maybe get hands-on previews of maybe that same section or that same section and a different section in May time. That gives you 2 months in between. You've just seen the trailer, then you see hands-on. A fuller preview in July after E3 to avoid that noise. Reviews in September, release in October. Like, there's a lot going on, and that's just on the on the GTA 6 side. Obviously, for Take-Two, they then have to think about all the other marketing beats they've got coming out with Civ, with Mafia, with Borderlands, and how all of that ties together. I'm just saying it's a lot, and that would be a timeline that I think would be sensible to follow.
Yeah,
because otherwise it gets too crowded in there, I think.
What gives me some hope is that you have to think that within Take-Two, all of the other games are non-Rockstar games. It's only GTA that's the Rockstar game. And Rockstar are they feel very much like a separate company that just so happened to be owned by Take-Two. They have separate like PRs, separate machinations. I'm sure they ladder up in some ways and share some synergies with Take-Two, but they are largely autonomous in terms of the way they market and PR their games. So it's not like they're competing with resource necessarily with the other teams. Even then, it's packed. Like, Civ will do its own thing. Mafia All Country, if we're saying summer, that's what? Summer's June, July, August. So that's like a 3-month window.
Yeah.
And then fall is what? October, November, December. So that's GTA time. NBA is September, but I think NBA is sort of non-competing.
Yeah.
And it's in an annualized slot, isn't it? I don't see that as a thing. The game that feels like it doesn't fit or has got a challenge is Borderlands, because it said 2025. Anywhere in calendar year 2025, it feels like it's slightly headbutting against another key release. And I wouldn't have thought they put it right up against Mafia, even though it's different.
Yeah.
All it was, what I thought, and I don't know what you think, Borderlands to me looked a bit more ready, like they showed a bit of gameplay. And I know it's easy to sort of fake vertical slice gameplay, but it did look like something that clearly existed in a way that some other games don't.
Yeah.
So maybe there's a world where that game comes out, they get Civ out of the way, and then sometime between March and June is Borderlands. And then you've got June to, like we just said, June, July, August, Mafia, and then GTA is the end of the year. NBA does its own thing.
I'd be surprised if Borderlands came out before Mafia. I think it just feels quick.
Yeah.
To not have a date on it currently, to then go from, hey, guess what? It's out in 2 months. It feels like,
and I'm not a big Borderlands person, so I've not got a strong feeling about how they've done this previously. But they felt like maybe I've misunderstood this in my mind. People who've been able to get a game out quickly and they're like reliable, they know what they're doing. And let's see. Right, I'm a bit out of my depth there, so I don't want to make anything.
Fine. Yeah, I have no arguments on that point. I just think the way that we consume media and marketing materials these days feels like to get that game out before, what did you just, like, summer, which is June, and avoid all of the other things that are happening, like after Civ, so that cuts out February, so you've got March, April, May.
Yeah.
Like, May, maybe. Let's see.
I mean, maybe. You think what's happened in the last year alone is it's within this year we all went mad for Pal World. That feels like 1,000,000 years ago.
Yeah, that's
true. It was
true.
less than 12 months ago. So a lot can happen in 12 months. So let's wait and see. But you're absolutely right. This is a really packed year. Maybe I'm off to buy some Take-Two shares.
Yeah. Well, yes. Let us know what you think for those release window expectations and what would happen with GTA's marketing beats, I guess that we'd call them, or preview hands-on times, like when you'd expect to see them. As Dan mentioned at the top of the show, we are having a little Christmas break now. So we will be back after a couple of weeks off. Everyone, please go off, relax, have a lovely stress-free Christmas. But do look out on December 24th for a couple of screenshots dropping, hopefully. And then when we come back in the new year, we can talk about them and analyze them and go through them for the next 6 months. So, yes, have a lovely Christmas. You can still get in touch with us on Twitter at GTA VO'clock and via email gtavio'clock@gmail.com. We'll still be on social. We'll cover anything breaking news as and when it happens. Just before we go, I want to say thank you to everyone who supported the show this year. Thank you for commenting. Thank you for watching and getting in touch with us. Have a great Christmas and join us in 2025 for another episode of GTA 6 o'clock.